Ok, a gente vai chamar agora, vai rolar um debate aqui, e eu vou chamar os dois moderadores, Eduardo Aguaio e Érico Fileno. Muitas palmas para eles.
Como a gente não almoçou ainda, então ainda é bom dia. Tá? A gente aqui, vamos continuar com o Dave. Tá? A gente vai fazer um bate-papo aqui sobre o XDA, a XDA. E eu gostaria de convidar para completar aqui o time no palco, a Locke, Nandi, por favor, come on. Sí, por favor.
Entonces, tenemos a Alok, el presidente de IXCA, y ahora también vamos a convocar a Birgit Geiberger, nuestra coordinadora de coordinadores, también parte del board. Un aplauso para ella, por favor.
Katia Forbes, que também é do board.
Y nuestra directora ejecutiva, Brenda Sanderson, por favor. And Tom.
Mr. Alok.
So, buen día, buenos días, welcome. Thank you all for bringing all your energy to this conference. The first day I mentioned this is a conference made by the community for the community. And here we'll spend an hour sharing what we are busy with and allowing you to get in touch with us. So let's see if it works. Let's stay a few seconds.
Systematic. Experiential. Disruptive. Extraordinary. Expressive. Playful. Human-centered. Sinamba. Exciting. Engaging. غير متوقع, unexpected.
Interaction design is a way to make people happy. We use digital services all the time, and if we get it right, that's great.
Interaction design is common ground for design sectors,
focusing on services, strategy, user experience,
products, and much more.
Interaction design is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good.
An expression of objectives. It's about combining people and businesses' needs to create authentic human experiences. It's about a love for ambiguity, because people aren't predictable. They're just not.
Interaction design in India, very, very bright. With 340 million smartphone users in India alone, and design, UX, UI, youngsters are intrigued with this field. So exciting years ahead. Thank you.
Imagine this is our interface. There are many ways to interact with it. It may be touchable or visual, but not necessarily. It may be liquid or even invisible. The main thing is that interaction design is all about the way we feel.
Interaction design is about shaping people's habits and daily lives. That's why we need a strong community that can advance professional and ethical standards.
User experience design is all about creating a product or service based around emotion. And within that, we also ingrain empathy, and that allows us to create a much grander experience overall.
Making.
Trying, iterating.
Figuring out.
Trying, trying again.
Iterating.
Iterating again, and again. Coffee break.
Doing it all over again.
In order to make stuff surprisingly easy to use.
Interaction design is
hard.
Observation.
Innovation potential.
Opportunity for job creation. Making things better.
Respect for diversity.
Working with people.
Playful.
Finding the story.
Fun.
Relevant.
Making cool stuff.
Creative.
Systematic process of coming up with a successful communication between a user and a product, reducing friction, understanding user, and making that user happy and fulfilled.
Interaction design is about educating empowering, and enabling a range of behaviors that are otherwise not accessible by some or not enjoyable by many.
Interaction design is a way to unite people through technology and solve real-life issues. Cheers from Campinas, Brazil.
In Taiwan, we believe the interaction is everywhere, and interaction design is a lubricant to make every interaction more reasonable and smoothly. ISDA rocks!
So this gives you a sense of what interaction design is, and you see so many different views. And we'll take half an hour now to talk about how Interaction Design Association is helping to have all these conversations taking place. So we have board members, we have Dave Malouf, who was one of the co-founder of Interaction Design Association, and we have regional coordinators and our executive director, Brenda Sanderson. In order to make that as interactive as possible, we'll share some of the insights of how the organization is moving from its history to today, to how we see the future. And then we'll spend half an hour having questions and answers and trying to envision with you, community, how Latin America can contribute more to what is happening here. To kick this kind of conversation, we are in a kind of very complex setup where 7 people in the middle of 1,000 people. We don't know where to look at, so let's try to kick with Dave. Dave, you are one of the co-founder of Interaction Design Association. What was, you remember I said it began with a mailing list in 2003, and now we have 1,700 people in Rio de Janeiro having conversations. What a journey. Can you give us some insights of what was happening some 15 years ago, or even before?
Am I on? Oh, good.
Yes, you're on.
So my thought was, while you were talking, was like, who could have imagined in 2003 when there were 600 people on an email list after 2 weeks after the wonderful Tog proposed it, that we would now be thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands of people around the world doing stuff. Brazil in particular has just taken on the call of local groups so beautifully. It's why I keep coming down here. This is my 3rd. I think I'm the Alec Baldwin of ILA. And the truth is, though, is that it's been this wonderful path of openness to ideas, openness to new ways of organizing, openness to new ways of thinking about everything. And I could have never imagined in 2003 or 2005, when we literally became IXDA, that this could have ever happened. We had our first conference in 2008. We were planning on 250 people. We ended up with 450 people and some fire marshal concerns at the same time. But it was this beginning of things. And within 6 months after that conference, the number of local groups just skyrocketed, just started going further and further. And then the next year, it even escalated more after the next conference. And it's just been fantastic to see that happen and how it's happening in this open environment.
So Dave, one of the ADN of DNA, ADN is in French, sorry. One of the DNA in IXDA is You want to do something, raise your hand, and then initiative takes place. That's how the mailing list became a conference, then Education Summit emerged, and we'll be talking about all this. So this is an organization with more than 100,000 members and 1 employee, Brenda Sanderson. And I think it's the moment now we give an applause to Brenda for all the work she's doing. So Brenda is executive director, and she works with everyone, and a core group of about 400 volunteers who are contributing their time, their energy, and many of you are in the room. And I'll ask, we have 2 board members, Birgit and Katja. Birgit is focusing on community leadership and helping to nudge, and Katja is looking at advancement. So Birgit, can you give us some insights about communities, how many we are, who are doing what? We have the RCs, so people get a sense, and if some of you want to get involved, you get in touch with Eduardo, Enrico, Birgit, of some of us. So Birgit, some insights.
Hello. Maybe I can share a bit the journey I had. 2 years after the founding, so 2010, I went to Savannah to the Interaction Conference. I'm from Europe, from Germany, and I found my tribe. That was it was really nice. What? Go away? That away?
Is it okay, the audio? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was for me finding my tribe. It was like really my professional home. I was instantly in love with the people, with the energy of the community and the sharing and the caring and the growing together. So I flew back a bit hungover, I must admit, and then landed in Hamburg, looked out for our local community, which was a UX roundtable, and connected with them and started a week later the IXDA chapter in Hamburg. And ever since I'm involved, I became then the regional coordinator for Europe and Africa, was the co-founding member of the awards, and for 3 years now, I'm on the board and trying to help the community from there to work with our amazing regional coordinators. 2 of them are here. And we have altogether 8. So we have the region Asia, Oceania, where we just recently recruited 2 more regional coordinators, also one from Australia and one from Singapore, to also cover this massive amount of region, right? It's huge, and the languages and the cultures are very diverse. And so therefore we have there too, and this similar situation we have here with Eduardo and Enrico, who are working very closely together to serve you all and connect you all. We have in Europe Jill. Jill has a core team of 5 people from different countries. So we try to make sure that we have the voice. Europe is much smaller, obviously, but we try to make sure to have the voice of the different cultures represented. And so with this core team, he's running Europe also with 40 plus chapters. Then we have Wayne in Africa, who's also growing. It's more the emerging market right now, but it's also growing with cities like Dubai, so more and more activity comes through. And then North America, also 2 regional coordinators we had until recently, only 1. Now we have 2 also because 40 plus chapters and a lot of time zones and so much work to do because the community is so engaged and so present, and so therefore we're trying to really be there. So my job is mainly to support the regional coordinators, to help them to help you and to connect the dots and to make sure that you are heard with what you need so that we as a board can actually put things in place for you, to enable you, to empower you, to have conversations and to support each other. We do that also in a way that the local groups themselves, that they are supporting each other. So we have, for example, when new local groups are coming up, we have in some regions that then more senior groups, which are well established and have a running machine that they are supporting and mentoring for a certain amount of months this new local group. So you are never alone when you engage. So we're trying our best to be there. Yeah, that's pretty much. And
can we ask all the local leaders to stand up?
Yes, that would have
been my next one. Local leaders in the room.
Where are the local leaders? And a big shout out to you guys. You are amazing. You can be so proud.
If you can raise your hand.
For everything you do. Like, please. So to be absolutely clear, without you and your engagement and your love and your passion, there wouldn't be an IXDA. So thank you all for that. This is really, really amazing. So maybe last but not least, we have approximately 225 local chapters by now, which are active, right? So the active amount of local chapters are around 225. So it's also quite big. And we have conferences in North America and Europe and here. And we have more and more local meetups, so within the region. So here we had just a few days ago the local leader workshop. So we're trying to get people together in a local way. And we have that in Europe once a year. In addition to the conference, we meet in Berlin. And then we have the same in North America now at Midwest, right? UX Midwest,
Midwest,
I think.
UX.
And there are two options. To be engaged with the community, you check in the city if there are local leaders, you talk to them. If you are in a city without local leaders, you can raise your hand and propose through the website to launch a local chapter, and then Brenda and the team will follow up, and then you are part of the core group.
Yeah.
So this is the communities part, and then we have another way of looking at all the organization. It's what we call the advancement. How do we advance our practice? How do we understand all the stakeholder, what is interaction design and how it can be understood by the others? And Katja is in the board and she's overseeing some of these activities and amongst others the awards.
Thanks. Yes, so my job on the board is to lead our advancement initiatives. Now, advancement at its most macro level is how do we move our discipline forward? How do we keep design relevant? What are the things that we need to do as a design community? I know I've gone past, I'm nowhere near the black line either. What do we need to do as a community to ensure that we are solving problems well? I get the sticky stuff. I get the stuff like design ethics. I get the stuff like how do we engage with education? Because we have a lot of challenges in education, in design education at the moment. There are universities, there are short courses, there are people who are career transitioning, there are all sorts of places where design education is taking place, but there's not a clear way that you get a design education. So one of the parts of advancement is around that understanding, how do we engage with these schools? How do we engage with these companies that are providing services? How do we support people who are transitioning from, I've been an industrial designer and now I want to move into experience design or interaction design? What do we as a board, as a community, as a professional organization, what do we do to support those people? So that is one of the parts of advancement. Another part of the advancement is the Interaction Design Awards, which is being currently judged at the moment, and Birgit is on that jury. The reason why the Interaction Design Awards belongs within advancement is because the ways that we can advance our discipline is by recognizing excellence, recognizing and showcasing excellence from all over the world. So this year I think we had 174, 192? Just shy of 200. So 194 entries into our Interaction Design Awards of projects that people thought were worthy of celebrating the excellence of. And then that will be whittled down to the winners of each of those categories. And celebrating excellence and showcasing what we can do to contribute to the world as a bunch of designers is a great way of advancing our discipline. So Interaction Design Awards, they come in underneath my bucket as well. And I think the other things that I'm really interested in doing is hearing back from the community what you think about these difficult topics in advancement. What do you think about education? I'm so easy to find on Twitter, and I am so willing to have conversations about how do we teach people to be great designers? How do we make sure that the work that we do and the way that we do our work is ethical? What are the things that we need to do as an industry to hold ourselves accountable so that we are solving problems in a really great way, that we are changing the world and leaving the human condition better rather than worse? So I would offer it out to anybody who's interested in participating in those conversations, because this is a community, it's for the community, by the community. I am very keen to hear of anything that people want to talk about in these kinds of areas. So please do reach out to me if you would like to participate. I will caveat that with, if you reach out and talk to me about this stuff, you might get a job to do, to have to help me, because this is really difficult. So that's my job on the board, and those are the sorts of topics and things that I'm very interested in, which is how I get led to things like coaching and those kinds of exciting topic areas as well. So yes, do reach out, but expect to get a job to do.
So Thanks. I just wanted to call out one thing on education, like calling out the awards, but two things, initiatives that are tied to...
Summit.
What?
Sorry, yes, the Education Summit.
So there's the Education Summit, which is now, it's been going on since 2013, and it's a one-day-ish conference, mini-conference that's part of this now what we call Interaction Week. And it's a place to have those conversations and to work through the problems together. And it's been going really well for these 5 years already. And then the other one is the Student Design Challenge, because one of the things that was missing is people in industry not having a chance to see the amazing, awesome people who are coming out of education programs and the kind of work that they're doing. And so the Student Design Challenge was made to put a highlight on the students and their universities that they come from as well.
Thanks, Dave. The idea here is to show the diversity of activities. And before giving the floor to Brenda Sanderson, let me show what we did a few weeks ago.
All over the world today, in many different time zones, there's great conversations, interviews, and presentations taking place that will help advance and support other designers.
We are coming from different backgrounds, different way of thinking, different ways of looking at design.
Designers need to come together to work with people who are not like them, so that they can gain perspectives that can improve the work that they do.
We all have different experiences, and we really need to share that knowledge so that we can do better in both our work and our lives.
I had a lot of fun today.
Insightful, very revealing, very thoughtful.
It was a very eye-opening experience.
It touched on a lot of topics that aren't commonly talked about.
I had a great time. One big takeaway for me was that the small things really matter.
Designers need to come together at events like this because we don't often get to just sit and reflect and think and learn from others and learn from their experience.
As designers, everything we create has an impact on the world, for better or for worse, and we have a responsibility to make that as inclusive as possible.
Brenda, can you give us some insights about how did this happen, and how could some other stuff happen based on that kind of initiative? Interaction Design Day.
Sure.
I'd love to take credit for it. I'd love to say as the executive director, this was in my business plan a year ago that I took to the board and said, here's a grand vision. It doesn't happen that way. We're designers, and I think one of the, we like to tell this story that, you know,
this is testing our interaction
our ability
capabilities.
to have how many microphones on stage at the same time and stay within the lines. Anyway.
Katya, stop dancing,
I think
please.
As Dave and Alec have both talked about, the way things come to the surface within IXDA is somebody has an idea. So in February, when we were at Interaction in Lyon, we had the fortune of having a local leader who also had a foot in his professional life in Adobe, who had this idea. What if we had a World Interaction Design Day? So during the local leaders workshop, we brought that idea to the table and people said, yes, this could be really interesting. It's a way to do things different. We see the scale here for the conference. We see it at Interaction in Europe and in North America. And for me, this is the third time I've been, so yes, I don't know what that makes me if you're Alec Baldwin. But this has become a thing at scale. Interaction Week was a way to say, how do we bring the individual energy of the local communities together at the same time? So that whether you're here in Rio, whether you're in Santiago, whether you're in Curitiba, in hometown, that can feel very far away when you're doing a small local group. What if we brought them all together? And the original idea when I was talking with my counterpart at Adobe for success was, could we get 20 events? And I particularly want to say thank you to this group because within Latin America, these local groups were the first ones to sign on. Mm-hmm. And there were, of the 90 events that happened, almost 30 of them came from this region.
Thank you, Latam.
Yeah.
And of course, next year we expect 60 from Latam. Huh?
Right. So we started with a prototype. We did a proof of concept. And now we're really excited to see where it goes next. So if you have ideas, as we've all talked about, of what could be the theme for next year and how we could improve it, come talk to me.
And bookmark September 25th, 2019, because it will be the Interaction Design Day, and we expect all of us to have something organized. We had 90 events organized. We are expecting 20. So I guess the idea, IXDA is a distributed organization. The idea is to continue and have distributed activities. And Brenda, the challenges of having distributed activities are coordination, communication.
Coordination. I mean, we like to tell the story that I'm the only paid employee, and I actually feel really lucky to do that because I like to say I get paid to do what I used to do as a volunteer, which is not a bad career strategy if you think about it. But the reason why we can do that right now is because of the energy of these people on stage and you people in this room who champion your local communities. So, thank you.
Thank you, community. Eduardo.
Bueno,
Enrico.
¿Estoy encendido? Sí, sí, perfecto.
Sí. Reaction, insights, what do you think? So we'll open to the community and begin to interact. Any feedback, insights? How many hours per night do you sleep or you don't sleep for Interaction Design Association?
Well, at first, I will continue this in Spanish because we can keep the diversity. So, yeah. So you can put your headphones. Thank you very much. Hace unos días atrás tuvimos el encuentro de líderes locales de la región. Estuvieron presentes justamente Alok y Katya. Y estuvimos escuchando qué es lo que tenían que decir los líderes locales respecto a cómo se sentían frente a los desafíos que se están planteando desde IXDA para las distintas regiones que hay en el mundo y esta gran cantidad de grupos locales que ya demostraron su valía a través del Día del Diseño de Interacción. En ese sentido, creo que uno de los grandes problemas que tenemos en la región es justamente la visibilidad que existe hacia las iniciativas que realiza IXDA. Muchas veces pasa que siendo nosotros tan latinoamericanos, y yo creo que todos nos reconocemos como latinoamericanos, somos latinoamericanos, ¿ok? Tenemos una cultura especial, y de la misma forma...
¿Por qué especial?
Puedes ir a la calle y verlo por ti mismo. Tenemos una estructura completamente distinta. En Latinoamérica no tenemos trenes para ir de un país a otro. Los tickets de avión son caros. Las culturas son un tanto distintas. Muchos hablamos el mismo idioma, sin embargo, eso es en el papel. Nuestros españoles son muy distintos. Incluso el portugués de Brasil es distinto del portugués de Portugal, ¿cierto? Nos podemos entender entre brasileros y el resto de la región, pero necesitamos estar frente a frente para sentirnos. Perdón que te toque. Y de la misma forma, lidiamos con distintos problemas en cada uno de los países. Tenemos algunos países con algunas crisis económicas, con problemas sociales. El tema social en Latinoamérica es bastante fuerte. Actualmente estamos lidiando, bueno, con algunos temas políticos también. Sin duda acá en Brasil todos entienden de qué estoy hablando. Y son temas que también van orientados, o sea, van en contra de justamente lo que estamos proponiendo como IXDA, que es mejorar la condición humana. Entonces, de alguna forma tenemos que trabajar más cercanamente con la comunidad global. Y lamentablemente creo que en la región se ve demasiado lejana. Nos cuesta demasiado entender qué es lo que son los Interaction Awards. Nos cuesta demasiado participar en el Student Design Challenge. Nos ha costado un montón implementar una estructura para realizar un Education Summit en Latinoamérica. Empezamos hace un par de años, pero ha sido difícil mantenerlo. Entonces, contar con ustedes acá es una gran oportunidad para poder embebernos un poco más de su cultura, entender un poco más acerca de cuál es el rol de IXDA y sentirnos parte de esta comunidad global. Así como en el encuentro de líderes locales hicimos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas con ustedes, quizás sería bastante bueno hacerlo acá también. Extender la conversación no solamente hacia los líderes locales, sino que a los asistentes, a las personas interesadas en el diseño de interacción, en la experiencia de usuario, en la arquitectura de información y por sobre todo, ir un poco más allá y, como decíamos, mejorar la condición humana. ¿Les parece si hacemos una sesión? Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta acá, por favor, que tengan preguntas. O voy a empezar a apuntar con el dedo. Allá.
Por favor.
Erico, si quieres, puede traducir.
No,
Alguien tiene que empezar.
Alguien tiene que empezar. Gracias, Eduardo, por esto. No, bueno, lo que veníamos hablando con respecto a... Perdón, voy a hablar en español.
No importa, están con traducción simultánea. Somos una comunidad global.
Al Education Summit, que yo vengo participando desde el primero, creo que en realidad lo que está faltando, más allá de compartir nuestras problemáticas diarias, de los problemas que tenemos para sostener durante el tiempo una materia, una cursada, una carrera como docentes, creo que en realidad un poco de lo que hablábamos en nuestra iniciativa, que hablamos en el Community Day, tiene que ver con empezar a introducir las metodologías dentro de la carrera a nivel otras materias y también pensar que en el Education Summit, ¿por qué no podemos implementar nuestras propias técnicas y nuestras propias metodologías para abordar soluciones? En el cuando empezamos a hablar y un poco en la reunión de local leaders, que hay otras iniciativas afuera de workshops y de actividades y por ahí estaría bueno empezar a traer eso para el education. Nada, me dijiste que empiece y empiezo por lo que me es más orgánico.
¿Te gustaría dirigir la pregunta a alguien en especial? ¿Tienes todo un panel acá de expertos?
Bueno, me gustaría saber si esto podría ser factible de implementar. Por ahí es más para Medellín, perdón. Pero, por eso te lo pregunto más a vos.
Pero... I think you need a job to come and do that with me.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a job.
Okay.
Let's work together on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One check.
So Argentina is already on board with a new initiative. Other reactions, comments?
Vou fazer pergunta em português. Falo bem devagar. Conversando com colegas, tratamos de um assunto que o design era um pouco elitizado, né? E tem tradução? Sim? A gente discutia que o design é elitizado. Por parte do grupo, tem alguma iniciativa para a gente tornar mais popular e fazer com que o design esteja mais presente em outras áreas? Existe alguma iniciativa do grupo?
I'll take this one and then we can add some other elements. So the assumption of having design seen as elite is something we also need to break ourselves. The theme of this conference is expanding frontiers. And my feeling is that some of us as designers, we put also frontiers in our head. So to try to answer to your question, I would say one of the elements we have spotted is that we as Interaction Design Association, we need to talk to other design associations in order to align languages. And with Brenda and myself, we are busy talking to the Industrial Design Association, the Service Design Network, the Bureau of European Design Association, and we have signed an agreement with 18 international design associations to talk to organizations like United Nations, UNESCO, and all the non-designers to have on a worldwide level a vocabulary which will allow to make design perceived as less elite. And that is one of the mission IXDA is busy with. The other way of trying to be perceived as less elite is the Interaction Design Day, where we would like to see all of you engaging with businesses, local municipalities, cities, enterprises, to make them understand the value of design. If you haven't read the Business Value of Design, which was issued by McKinsey 2-3 weeks ago, I would suggest that all of us designers, we go through that document. And we say, okay, we have tools which will allow to talk to our clients, to our stakeholders, to help us push design into larger territories. And education is also something we need to work on. Brenda, would you like to add something on top of that? And I hope it begins to answer some questions. So initiatives is talking to international organizations, aligning languages, and then using initiatives like Interaction Design Day to reach towards those who are non-designers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and the notion of elite is something that I'm personally passionate about too. I'm a designer by training. I worked as a designer for 15, 20 years. I still design. But the question I get when I explain my job, and they say, well, wait, you're a designer and now you are doing administrative and travel and, don't you find that boring? You're not designing. Isn't it, design is here and now you're doing this. And I'm like, but this is design. It's system design. And when you start to explain it that way, both to yourself and to other people, they have a different perception of what design can be. It's something in your daily life, how you make sense of things. And that makes it more accessible.
I wanted to add one thing, which is around the world, there's been this burgeoning growth of applying design practices to issues around civics and social impact. And it's not always done in the best way, right? This design colonization, but there's also design inclusion, and we're still figuring things out, but there are definitely communities that are doing work not just to design things for others, but to design with, and with the goal of them being able to move on their own. And so it's happening. It would be interesting to think about, well, what are the initiatives that you are going to take on now, for Katya, to help make IXDA take more responsibility towards those initiatives?
Now it's community for community by community. The danger we'll get in is each time someone says something, they will feel under the pressure to do something. So Dave, stop putting pressure. Any other comment or question?
She started it.
Yeah. Yep.
Voy a hablar en español ya porque se me es más fluido. Ya, una de las cosas que me parecen muy interesantes de estar en una conferencia acá es que hay mucha gente profesional y con mucha gente con experiencia. Y creo que lo rico de los eventos en los que he podido asistir es que se expone cosas que van más allá de metodologías, cosas más de procesos, que esas cosas sí se pueden encontrar en Internet, pero lo que no se puede encontrar muchas veces en Internet, y creo que es una de las cosas que falta mucho en América Latina, es el tema de la experiencia y cómo otras personas lo han aplicado. Porque cada persona, cada uno de ustedes tiene diferentes puntos de vista, tiene diferentes background y lo aplica de diferente forma, ¿no? Entonces, yo creo que, y quisiera saber también un poco si tienen planeado llegar un poco más a América Latina. Por ejemplo, yo soy de Perú y muchas de las cosas que pasa es que a veces la información no llega mucho en mi país. O hay muchos diseñadores o muchas personas buenas que tienen mucha intención de aprender, de hacer iniciativas, pero muchas veces como que llega la metodología, llegan los procesos, llegan los libros, llegan todos, pero a veces falta eso de, ya, sé la metodología, sé cómo se hace, pero hay como que esas preguntas que quedan sueltas en el aire que capaz solo pueden ser respondidas por alguien que ya pasó por todo este proceso, ¿no? Entonces me gustaría saber si tienen planeado como que llegar a más países latinoamericanos, hacer más eventos, si hay iniciativas, y si no las hay, cómo se puede un poco hacer esas cosas, ¿no? Si es más que todo ya de los líderes nacionales o qué otras cosas han, o qué planes tienen para América Latina, ¿no? Esa es un poco mi pregunta. Gracias.
Before giving the floor to some of you, I'll jump into and remember that Latin America is hosting the biggest event ever in Rio de Janeiro. So there is full of energy. There are lots of things which are done here. So let's be proud as Latin America for things which are happening here. So that is one of the core comment I would have for this community. Let's not undervalue the richness and the density and the diversity. The fact that Eduardo is speaking in Spanish like you are, and then some others in Portuguese, and then we are mixing with English, and that is part of, for me, of the density. So let's keep all this energy. And Katya, you wanted to add something?
Yes, in answer to your question, is it an effort to come to South America? I come from Sydney. It took me a really long time to get here. It is currently 2:15 in the morning for me. But I come to this conference. I've also, just before I was at this conference, I was in Bangalore, running some workshops in co-design and participatory research for the community there. And as a speaker in this community, in that community, which has, I think, some similar challenges to the one that was just described, which, things come here slowly. I am made to feel so welcome and so valued for the knowledge that I can bring here, that it makes the fact that I got stuck in Santiago for 9 hours just disappear. So that doesn't matter anymore, because the way that that all of you, that this community treats both me and I would say probably other speakers as well have had the same experience, is that we feel really, really valued. And that makes us want to come here and share more. I want to come back next year. I want to come back the year after that and tell you the next thing that I've learned. So I think, but yeah, while this is totally a recruiting drive to get people to help me do my job on the board, as a speaker, I'm grateful for the welcome that I've given. And I would say in terms of continuing to get people to come here, it's the responsibility probably of regional coordinators, of local leaders, to reach out to the rest of the world. Our community is huge, huge. More than 200 chapters, to reach out and say, we are a hungry community, we want to learn, come and teach us, come and share your knowledge. We'll give you the greatest experience when you get here. So that would be the challenge that I put back out to you, to really keep on attracting us to come here and tell you the new things that we've learned.
Brenda, you want to add some insights, and then Birgit.
Yeah, you asked a great question, was it an effort? I didn't travel as far as Katya, but yes, we travel far. At the same time, that gives us insight to the effort that is required within this region, just to travel within the region, and also to travel to Europe and North America. And I would say one of the responsibilities all of us have on stage, but I feel particularly lucky in my role, is to listen and hear the challenges and opportunities that you want help with, and to bring it back to the table so that we can help you solve for those things, whether it's connecting people within the region, connecting people here with somebody maybe in Europe or North America, but also to look at the innovation, and as Alex said, the denseness and richness of what's going on here, and present that to other communities, so that when somebody, I've been lucky in my career to spend a lot of time in Latin America, and the innovation with different problem solving, I love to be able to bring back to the table, whether it's somebody planning something in Europe, in Asia, to say, did you look at that solution they had in Peru? Maybe bring them to your conference in Asia and listen to that region, rather than say, everything has to come here so that it's us speaking to you. It's how do we create that dialogue so that you can speak to the rest of the world about what you're doing here as well.
I would like to add to that. It's not everybody can travel, right? So I'm super honored to be here, and I love every second. And yes, it's a travel, but I really love every second. But there's also the fact that in many regions people cannot travel. If we are thinking of Africa, we have a very different conversation about how to share knowledge and how to actually even get a Skype call running, because the network is breaking down every 2 seconds. So what I'm saying is, like, there are many ways to get together and to find ways to have this conversation. And if there is interest of any of you around any topic, reach out to Eduardo or Eriko or me and say, hey, I'm interested in having conversations about design ops. Do you know anyone in the community who has some experience and want to share? And then we connect you, because this what always gives me so much goosebumps, because this community is completely built on sharing and caring and really doing something together. And we bridge the gaps. We help with like digital or virtual meetings. We bring partially in some areas of the world, like just workshops, digital workshops, because people cannot afford to bring the speaker in. So there are many ways where we can help to connect you. And if I had 2 days ago with, what's her name, Marita? Was her name Marita? About female leadership. So it was also like a topic where we're going to connect on. Huh?
Mariana and Carolina.
Mariana and Carolina. Nice. And we're going to connect afterwards around that topic, and then connect the dots throughout the globe. So there are ways. So be proactive, reach out. We are trying to bring you together no matter where you are.
I just want to add that, like, when we're here, I loved your question because for me, it taught me a lot about what you're facing in Peru. And Peru is facing something different than Brazil, than Colombia, than, you know, Buenos Aires, at Argentina and Chile. And like, we don't know what to do to solve problems that we don't know are problems, right? And I think like one of the great things about having the regional coordinators is that it's a conduit to the global community to learn those things, right? But you also need to take on the responsibility of using local leaders and regional coordinators so that it is information flow that's coming. Because there's definitely, like, I got like 5 initiatives off the top of my head off of what you were saying. So but I wouldn't know that until you said that. So thank you.
Thanks. So,
no.
There are 2 questions there, and there is 1 question there. So 1, 2, 3. As IXDA, let's see that as a platform. Our job is to make sure that it is a space for conversations and that it goes into all directions. And that is the challenge that we see as board and as Brenda Executive Director. Yep.
Hello, guys. I will speak in Portuguese. A minha pergunta, não espero necessariamente uma resposta pronta, mas até um convite a pensar. Como já foi perguntado aqui, acredito que todos vocês tenham vivenciado essa experiência nos últimos dias, mas entre os vários países que compõem a IXDA, tanto na Latinoamérica quanto na Europa, em outros países, a gente tem uma série de barreiras que sejam culturais, de linguagem, de idioma, de economia e de política. E dentro desse contexto de um mundo globalizado, mas que ainda não tem relações fluidas entre países, continentes, nesses diversos aspectos, eu gostaria de perguntar como os IXDAs, Latam e europeu, eu nem sei se posso chamar de europeu ou de global, talvez, mas como essa integração poderia acontecer de uma forma a encurtar essas distâncias, desde questões econômicas, como, por exemplo, quando eu compro numa Best Buy, eu tenho a oportunidade, às vezes, de pagar na minha moeda, ao invés de ter que pagar em dólares, ou em questões também de os próprios capítulos regionais auxiliarem numa tradução para português, assim, que tipo de soluções nós poderíamos fazer para encurtar a distância e permitir que nós participemos também do IXDA global, porque eu pensei em ir para, se não me engano, Seattle, que é a cidade que vai ser o próximo, se eu me lembro bem, e é inviável para mim pagar os custos dessa viagem. Então, eu gostaria de entender como, de ambos os lados, tanto nós aqui quanto vocês de lá, a gente pode encurtar essa distância.
I'll answer the Seattle question, the easy answer, but for a long time we ran the conference, and I know running the conference here, everybody thinks about how do we sell tickets and make sure people show up, but your point is exactly it. How do we make that global community be able to participate, whether I can get there in person or not? We're very fortunate this year being in Seattle that the technology in the Amazon Center, that's their business of how do we make it closer. So how we make that live stream available and how the communities who want to participate. Last year we did a prototype in Lyon and we said it needed to be local groups, but you can be a local group of 1. It doesn't need to be that you have to convene 50 people in a room. You can put up your hand and say, I want to participate as the one person from my local group. So that's one way to bring it closer. We'd love to have everybody in the same room in Seattle, but we'd love to have the diversity of the conversation and the accessibility for everybody who wants to be able to be part of it.
And the challenge we have is that we are 100,000 members, and conference gathers 1,000 to 2,000 people. And as IXDA, we are busy thinking how to make sure that we are inclusive using technologies, using streaming, using live tweeting, using all the stuff we are busy day by day to ensure that the density of conversation runs smoothly. So it's part of our challenges for the coming months and years. There was a question there and then there. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
over there.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
I'm going to continue in Spanish. Se estuvo hablando mucho en estos días de matriz de maduración, de muchas cosas. Estaría bueno pensar en una matriz de maduración de IXDA y ayudar a las comunidades que son más nuevas y somos más chicas o crecieron de golpe entre nosotros. Nos pasó en Buenos Aires que la comunidad creció de golpe en muy corto tiempo y eso significó muchos problemas de organización, muchos problemas de ponernos de acuerdo, muchos problemas de a dónde conseguir material, cómo organizarnos. Hablando con ustedes en estos días estuvimos entendiendo desde que tienen un montón de herramientas de comunidades más maduras que estuvieron trabajando, programas de mentoring y un montón de cosas que estaría bueno bajar y distribuir y como hacerlo más cross a todos los equipos y por ahí mapear la madurez de los equipos para poder trabajar sobre herramientas para ayudar a crecer de manera más prolija o más contenida a los equipos de diferentes lugares. Es un pedido más que una pregunta.
So, yes, we do have yes, we do have many tools. We created local leader toolkits together, like little packages based on knowledge of what is actually needed, like to start a chapter. The challenges, even though the cultures are very different and stuff, and locations and the context, but the overarching human challenges are pretty much the same. So like, how do I get people to come? And how can I communicate? And how do I get a sponsor? And how do I get a room? And what happens if nobody shows up? Shall I stop? Like all of these things, they are pretty unified. And so we have toolkits for that. We have a Frontify website. And what you just scratched upon was the maturity level on different local groups. And we are working actually right now with the North American regional coordinators on exactly that. Like mapping where are the maturity of different local groups and what does it actually mean. So in that context, what does a local leader need and what kind of maturity curve? And what can we actually support them with? Because it's also, just to mention that again, like we are all volunteers, right? So it's all on top of our job as well. And we are committing to 5 to 10 hours extra a week to support. So we need to see where can we do that from on the, not over-promising, and also financially, how can we support in bringing sponsors in and stuff. So we're working on that, and that will be a topic at the Interaction in Seattle. For the local leader workshop to look at this with the regional coordinators, and Enrico and Eduardo will bring that back to you. Any input from you guys, please send it our way.
Good. We have 2 minutes left and then stomachs will begin to cry. So one question there, last question there, and then buon provoce, bon appetit, whatever. Yep.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to ask in Spanish. Mi pregunta es un poco, creo que es lo que venimos hablando, todas las preguntas van un poco por el mismo lado, ¿no? Tenemos un montón de problemáticas en Latinoamérica que son particulares nuestras. Y creo que lo venimos hablando con un montón de los participantes, nosotros ya las estamos resolviendo por ahí en nuestro día a día, en nuestro trabajo diario. Yo trabajo en Despegar y escuchando un montón de las charlas me sentí muy identificada con las metodologías, con todo lo que estamos haciendo. Mi pregunta es, ¿se está pensando algún evento paralelo a este, pero enfocado en latinos, hablando con latinos y resolviendo nuestras problemáticas latinas? Por ahí eso ayuda a la comunicación cuando después hablemos con la comunidad a nivel más grande, ¿no? La comunidad global. ¿Se entendió la pregunta?
Sí, se entendió la pregunta.
You understand the question? Do you want me to say it in English again, just in case?
Did you understand? It's okay?
Yep.
Sí, bueno, voy a responder en español también.
Buenísimo.
Y no en español chileno. Efectivamente, hay, como decía justamente hace un rato, comentaba Alok, que la idea es también firmar acuerdos y generar acuerdos con distintas organizaciones, hay más organizaciones que están trabajando eventos aparte de IXDA, y eso todos lo sabemos. O sea, de hecho, suele pasar que cada uno de nosotros participa en más de una comunidad. Justamente por estos días estaban con el tema del Service Design Network acá, ya que estaba Mar Steve, lograron hacer un meetup después de que se firmó un acuerdo con eso. Usualmente también tenemos representaciones de IDF en nuestros distintos países. Y la idea también es justamente empezar conversaciones para traer otros modelos de eventos, que no necesariamente tienen que ser eventos sin fines de lucro, como viene siendo el nuestro. Recordemos nuevamente que acá todos somos voluntarios, no hay modelo económico. Pero eso yo creo que nos resta el hecho que sí podemos comunicarnos con otras organizaciones que trabajan otro tipo de modelo y que pueden incentivar la conversación. El punto es, como decían hace un rato, como decía Dave, tenemos que plantear el problema antes para poder resolverlo. Y parte de eso es hacerse parte con los líderes locales, con las comunidades locales, tomar un rol más activo, tomar tu compromiso con el trabajo y trabajar con Katia, obviamente, y de esa forma lograr construir una mejor comunidad. Si no, siempre vamos a ser asistentes, y cuando somos asistentes pasa eso. No conversamos entre nosotros, no resolvemos los problemas, sino que simplemente esperamos que nos lleve los contenidos. Si tú tienes alguna idea, si tienes algún contacto, se agradece. Por ahí escuché que alguien quiere empezar a organizar un evento que se realiza en España en distintos países de Latinoamérica. Podría ser.
Good. Last question there, but remember the conversation continues during lunch and the afternoon and the night and during the parties and
during the year.
And during the year.
Okay. So one of the main topics of this conference is expanding frontiers. And even when we have a space within the IXDA website related to jobs, expanding frontiers in terms of jobs has often a big challenge, which is getting to know and to understand, which is the cost of living, the culture, and the differences between each of our regions. So the question would be, or it could even be an invitation, what are we doing to map these differences and bring those differences a little bit closer so that we can have a better mobility of designers throughout the region, practicing different disciplines, going from one side to another, which is something that we usually love to do, and opens us a very different range of possibilities as designers. As we know, Brazil is a very extended community, and there's all kinds of designers doing excellent jobs over here. Some other communities are relatively small, and we're mostly related to digital design or things like that. Not in the government, not in healthcare, not in industry. So what are we doing to map that out?
So, in a nutshell, you are proposing a new initiative? But to begin to answer that initiative, what we have done is, at the stage before jobs, education also needs some mapping. And we have done a kind of worldwide mapping, and we saw that there are 174 degrees in the world connected to our practice of interaction design, UX design, system design. And we are busy trying to clarify the landscape on that level. And this will lead into clarifying the job landscape. Because if you talk, is there any recruiter in the room? If you talk to a recruiter, he wants a guy who has 5 hands, 3 feet, and 2 brains. So we need also to build a common language and fine-tune and help and get more maturity as a profession. Okay. Imagine that the word design, if we go into the medical world, design would be the same word for healthcare, well-being, and curate and whatever. You see, with one word we create lots of confusion. So we need, as a professional practice, to get more mature also. But that's part of the initiative. Now, I see applauses. So I would like to have all the community being uploaded. Because it's a work of love, and we love all of you. So, this being said, if there is any burning ending word, Enrico, Eduardo, it's the moment now, and then we go and have food, because without food, there is no love.
Alô. Então, só para fechar, né, o evento aqui, né, já foi dito e redito aqui, é um evento feito pela comunidade, né, o que acontece nesses dias aqui é exatamente o resultado da união, do trabalho de todo mundo, e o grande desafio nosso é espalhar o que acontece aqui, né? Então, procurem os seus local líderes. Se na sua cidade não tem um capítulo, venha falar comigo, com a Guaio. Tá? A gente está aqui para ajudar vocês a se conectarem com a comunidade, ajudarem a vocês a desenvolverem as atividades dentro das suas cidades, conectarem com outros capítulos. Então, é muito importante isso também. Então, estou começando agora a gente conectar vocês com outras comunidades, outros capítulos que já têm um pouco mais de experiência e fazer essas conexões. Tá? Então, é somente assim que a gente vai fazer cada vez mais essa comunidade cada vez mais forte, para a gente continuar com esse evento, né, com novas propostas, né, novos desafios, e assim a gente vai continuar crescendo como comunidade do XDA. Certo, pessoal?
Obrigado, Érico.
Thank you all. Muito obrigado. Gracias.